Hey everyone, welcome to 3.2 Equations of Lines. Some of this might be review from Algebra 1, and then some of it might be a little bit new. So the two non-vertical line equations, one you have probably seen before is called slope-intercept form, and in the title it has a slope and then a y-intercept. So that is the form that we will use if you have a slope and a y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b will be that, where your m is your slope, your b is your y-intercept, where that graph hits the y-axis. And then a new one that you may not have used before or heard of, but I really like it, it's called point slope. So you are given a point on the line, and you're given your slope, or you might have to find one of the two. Y minus y1, so that comes from your point, equals m, your slope, times x minus x1. So your point is actually your x1 and y1. Your m is your slope. So that's why they call it point slope, because you may be given a point and you may be given a slope. If you simplify your point slope, it actually turns back into your slope-intercept form. All right. Write an equation in slope-intercept form, so that is a big thing. You need to make sure you read all the instructions and see what they are asking you to do. Slope-intercept form of a line with a slope of 6 and a y-intercept of 3. So slope-intercept form, we know we need to get it into y equals mx plus b. I have a slope of 6. I have a y-intercept of -3. We are going to graph the line. I'm going to put those into my slope-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. And I need to graph my y-intercept first. So that is where I'm going to graph this number right here. I'm going to go on my y-axis. I'm going to go to -3, and I'm going to put a dot right there. And my slope is 6, but you can really think of it as 6 over 1. So that means I need to go up 6 to the right 1, or I could also go down 6 and left 1, whichever one kind of fits better on your graph. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 1, and again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 1. You need at least 3 points on your graph, and you need to go all the way through all of your points, and there needs to be arrows at the end of your lines, because those lines, that's saying I'm extending out from each of those points, because a line continues on forever and ever. All right, go ahead and try your check your progress. Here is your answer. All right, next, write an equation in point slope form. So remember, point slope form looks like this, whose slope is -3.5 that contains our point -10.8. So we're just writing an equation and graphing a line. So my slope is -3.5. My point is -10.8. So plugging it into my equation first, I'm going to say y minus my y1 equals m times x minus my x1, so that would be plus 10. So that's my equation. Then if I'm asked to graph, I'm going to graph my point first, then I'm going to graph my slope. So I'm going to go to -10 and then up 8 right here. And then I'm going to use my slope -3/5. So that means I'm going to go down 3, right 5, or I can go up 3 and left 5, because that would be a negative and that would be a positive. All right, so down 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then again, and if I can have at least 3 points, I'm going to graph all the way through those lines and make arrows. All right, go ahead and check your progress on the back. There is your answer. All right, so what if I'm given 2 points and I'm asked to put it in slope-intercept form? So I need to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So remember that is y equals mx plus b. For a line that contains our 2 points, well, we first need to find our slope because both of those forms that we've talked about have a slope. So here's my slope equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have negative 9 over negative 6, which reduces to 3/2. So that's my m. All right, and then I'm going to use point slope. This is a new way of doing it possibly. So I'm going to use point slope, and then I'm going to simplify it to get it to slope-intercept form. I'll show you a way that you may have been doing it before. So I first need a point, and I need my slope to use, notice, point slope form. So I'm actually going to pick this point right here. If you have anything that has really small numbers or a 0 in it, it's probably good to pick because it'll be easy to put into your equation. All right, so I'm just going to follow this formula right here. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, so this cancels, so it would be y equals, and then you're going to distribute your slope, 3/2 x plus, and this would be 6 over 2, which reduces to 3. So notice, once I simplified, I actually get back to my slope-intercept form. You may have done before, used your slope and a point. So you sometimes may have done 0 equals mx plus b, and you would have solved for your b value. So this would be negative 3 plus b, adding 3 over, so your b is 3, and then you just would have put it back into y equals mx plus b. Whichever way you want, you should come up with the same answer. It's just kind of how you like to solve for them best. All right, remember, point slope form simplified will create a slope-intercept form equation. So that is why I like point slope. It's easier for me, but you might not like it. So it's kind of up to you. All right, let's try another one. Write an equation in slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b, that contains our 2 points. So our first thing, no matter which way you're going to solve, you always need to find your slope. So 3 plus 7 over negative 1 plus 3. So that would be 10 over 2, which would give me a slope of 5. So then I'm going to put it into point slope and simplify. You don't have to. You can solve for b, your y-intercept, and then put everything back in. I'm going to use my point and my slope. So I'm going to use this point right here. So I'm going to say y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, I'm going to distribute. So y minus 3 equals 5x plus 5. Add 3 to both sides. So then I would get y equals 5x plus 8. All right, why don't you try one? Check your progress. Make sure you find your slope first and then solve your point slope or solve for b. Here is your answer. Alrighty. Let's try one more that may look a little bit different. I have write an equation of a line through those 2 points in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So I first need to find my slope. -2 minus -2 over 0 minus 5. Notice I get a 0 for my slope. So that also tells me that it is horizontal. I have a 0 slope, so my line will look like that. So then I'm going to put it into point slope. If you know how to write a horizontal line equation, you can go ahead and do that from here. If you are like me, I like to just make sure I know what I'm doing and check myself and recheck myself to make sure I'm doing it right. So I'm going to do it like this. So point slope y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I get y plus 2 equals 0x plus 0 or minus 0, which all of that cancels. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So I get y equals -2 as my equation. So again, if it is horizontal, it's going to be y equals a number. So let's look at that key concept right below that. If it is a horizontal line, I know I'm going to hit my x-axis. So my equation would be y equals the number where it hits the y-axis. And then that's how I remember how these equations go. And then if it's vertical, remember it is undefined. My slope is undefined. But how I write my equation, it's x equals the number where my x-axis, it hits the x-axis. All right. Last thing we need to talk about is write an equation in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b of a line that is perpendicular to y equals 1/5 x plus 2, and it goes through 2, 0. So the slope of my line I'm given is 1/5. So because I want to be perpendicular to that, my slope is going to be -5, the opposite reciprocal. After you find your slope, you're actually done with all of that information. This will either say parallel or it will say perpendicular. So that will give you what slope you're going to use, and then you have your point that you're given. So it just is a little bit more complex in how you get your slope rather than solving for it like we did above. And then once you have your slope and you have your point, you're just going to plug it into your point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y equals -5x plus 10, and you are finished. All right, so go ahead and flip it over and check your progress on the back. And here is your answer right here. We're going to stop there, and we will talk about our real-world linear equation problem in class. So hope this information helped with your point slope. Remember, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That is your point slope. And your slope-intercept, where you have a slope and you have your intercept, would be y equals mx plus b. All right, see you next time.